So something went really wrong this week, and I want to see if you can hear exactly what it is. Did you hear it? Me either, because I forgot to record the audio for the actual video itself. I want to pivot and use this as a moment to explain what went wrong, because it's actually bigger than tech and kind of feeds into what a lot of founders struggle with every single week. Let's get into it. Okay, so the goal for this week for Bakehouse Brands was to finish all of the modules and the outlines by the 1st of Feb, meaning that all of Jan, we had to have all of the edits done, and it didn't happen. And one of the main reasons is because I actually sounded like this. On top of that, I'm getting really sick. I've had to go and get some cold and flu tablets. This is the side effect of just burning the candle at both ends. The main obstacle I was trying to tackle this week, to be brutally honest, was excellence over mediocrity. Excellence is incredibly hard. Mediocre is easy. And for myself, I hold myself to an unbelievably high standard, predominantly on the client-facing side, which is great. However, when that takes up 100% of my time and all of my capacity health-wise, it puts me in a very weird position where I get sick, because that's what the human body does. However, 2 lessons were learned from this experience that I think you could definitely take and apply, and even just think about the next time you find yourself burnt out or trying to figure out, is this worth doing? The first one was, you can work more. There's a constant battle of trying to figure out how much your input and output always is, and one of the biggest hurdles is always health, feeling sick, feeling good, all of that. And growing up, I had a very loving and nurturing household, that it was very welcomed to take a sick day. It was very welcomed to take time to heal and be 100%. And I do agree, you should work 100% and you should rest 100%. But there is wiggle room. And this week showed me that the gear I have to work is greater than I thought. Meaning I had more in me to give. I had more in me to work. I had an extra level to my output than I thought possible. I thought I was going to be bedridden all week, and it didn't happen. And now it's Sunday and I feel 90% better and all the work got done. I just felt shit as it happened. So what I learned from that, and what I think you could take and apply, is that there are moments to rest, and there are moments when it's just a cold. And I think if you get into the habit of leaning in to the sickness, leaning in to the comforts, it is so much easier to start that habit than it is to break it. So this week I learnt that I have another gear in me, that I have the ability to work harder than I thought, and that maybe working for me is actually a way I heal as well. If I didn't work this week, I would be left a week behind, which meant the following week I would have had a double. I would have had more work, more edits, more turnaround time, more client interactions, everything. So in theory, I wouldn't have been able to recover properly anyway. So one of the lessons that I think that is highly applicable is being honest with yourself. As founders, we really don't have anyone to hold us accountable to what we are trying to do or achieve other than ourselves. And it's very easy to have a pity party of one and be like, I don't feel that good today. I might just watch a movie. I might relax. All valid and crucial points for any founder to do is take time to relax. But knowing when that time is going to make the difference between you finishing a project in 1 week or you finishing a project in a month. Between the sickness and shooting for Stay a While, which is my content agency, I had physically no time to polish and finalize the last module for Bakehouse Brands. And it feels horrible. It feels truly defeating to have set a goal and not meet it. It is humbling to realize we share the same 24 hours in a day and I didn't utilize them properly. And I'm not one to sit here and come up with excuses. The reality is I didn't allow time for Bakehouse Brands to be a priority, which can't happen and won't happen ever again. So all that's meant is that next week, the coming week, which will be from the 3rd of Feb onwards, I'll be restructuring my week and splitting my time and energy between both companies. I'll be having days where I'm dedicated just to stay a while and the clients and the edits and the turnarounds that we have, because I have to maintain that at 100% to keep the fuel, the money, the income going so I can build the second brand, which is Bakehouse Brands. The initial outpour of support for Bakehouse Brands has been kind of wild. I don't expect to have much traction because I don't have much of a social following. But the first round of emails we sent out, we had like 50 emails, which isn't a lot. But the open rate was 78%, which I know from someone who's ran EDM campaigns my entire life. Not my entire life. For the last like 5-10 years. That's an incredible open rate. So people are interested in what we are putting out. So for those of you who are interested in being a part of that newsletter, it is in the caption comment thing down below. It's called The Menu. And basically it's just like weekly bite-sized bits of information and frameworks that you can take and actively use before Bakehouse Brands goes live. Which I think is crucial. Bakehouse Brands was started with the intention of just trying to help everyone who has helped me, especially in the marketing world. So if you're interested, there's no sells in this email. I'll be honest, whenever the waitlist does come out, there's obviously going to be a component of selling, but for this is just pure value. So that is there if you need it. So while I can't necessarily go through what we've done at Bakehouse Brands, I can go through what we've done at Stay a While. And I think it's pretty impressive. For context, over the last 14 days, we have had 18 shoots, ranging from everything from hospitality venues all the way through to campaign shoots at local Vitality House, which is essentially Perth's solution to Soho House. If you don't know what that is, Google it, but it's essentially an exclusive membership club for founders, entrepreneurs, business-like people who pay a membership to go to and work from a facility that has health and wellness, food, all that kind of stuff. It's great. It's the alternative for the solopreneur, whatever that word is, who doesn't necessarily want to have an office, but has an extra amount of wiggle room with their budgets and wants to go and work and meet people. I'd been on the fence for it for a very long time, and after having the privilege to shoot there, I have a feeling I'm going to be back in that location, which is great because networking is really hard when you're in a room in the back of your house. You know, it's a great office. I'm able to shoot content here. It is definitely reduced my my expenses in terms of having to rent studios, but there is a limit to the fact that if I go, hey, no one's there. No one can ask. No one can respond to a question or help me with anything. So that is something I miss, is more of a network. So I have a big week ahead, and I want to take this time to say, next week, the videos are going to be a little bit different. I kind of sat and reflected on two things, and this is going to be like a really, really honest update. Probably the most honest and raw I've ever been on this channel. So this is it. For context, growing up, I was a bit of a awkward kid, socially not the most best person to be around. And because of that, I kind of ostracized myself by doing stupid things. And the flow-on effect of that was when I landed at my third and final high school, I started to adapt to the crowd I was in order to fit in, which is like a lot of people. The problem with that is I became a friend to everyone, but not really like a real friend to anyone at the same time. I think it's because my personality was unsure of who I was, and also I didn't want to run the risk of being bullied again, to be brutally honest. So when I left high school, most people, again, generalizations, are faced with the question of what am I going to do next? When I left high school, I had an extra question in my brain, which was, who am I? Because I wasn't this group, I wasn't this group, I wasn't this group, I wasn't this group, but I hung out with them all, and I would change my personality to fit whatever group I was in. And I only realized that this trait, this flow-on effect, kept going for most of my life. I caught up with not even like a close friend, but someone who we just connect on like a really deep level. We connected probably about a month or two ago. And he gave me some really honest feedback, and it kind of like caused me to now reflect and have this chat, which was I then carried that into my social media life. I carried that into my business life, which was I adapted to what I needed to do to survive and became who I needed to survive. I did what I knew to keep going and didn't really take many risks. Stay a While is a marketing agency that is essentially the exact same structure and setup as the previous company that employed me. I did that again out of necessity because I got made redundant and I had a mortgage to pay. And taking that model was what I knew, but there was also a part of it that was just comfort. There was no risk in it. I knew exactly how to do it, how to structure it, how to scale it, all of it, because I'd learned from someone who had taken that risk. And then I left, made redundant, started Stay a While, and it did still feel like mine. It did feel like a slice of my own ideas, but something about it I still couldn't shake without ever feeling 100% like it was mine. Fast forward even to the start of my very first YouTube video, and the format I chose was replicating what I thought the industry needed or wanted. And I'm left in a position of trying to be better this year, trying to be very self-aware of the choices I make and how I present myself. And I tell my clients this, and it's a trap that most creatives fall in, which is they can't take their own advice. I want to show up as authentically and honestly as possible on this platform. And by sitting here and doing these founder breakdown videos, maybe a year ago there was something special about them. But the reality is the people who started the trend and paved the way have already found their success. I don't want to be a part of the imitation game anymore. I can't afford to be. The videos moving forward upon reflection are going to be much more cinematic storytelling that still goes through the journey of Bakehouse Brands. I love TV shows, and one of my favorite TV shows of all times is Scrubs. If you know Scrubs, I don't need to explain why. If you don't, it is an episodic drama comedy set in America of doctors and nurses, and they have this incredibly nuanced way to deconstruct in really complex emotional issues and have it done in a way that's lighthearted, fun, and you learn something from it. It is a show that I constantly revisit throughout most of my life. The storytelling and the way that's done, I think, provides more value than me sat here yapping. I want a part of this to be visually appealing, not just auditory appealing, not just, hearing appealing. I love my job, and my job is content. I create. I help brands produce world-class pieces of content, so why the fuck would I not do that for myself? There obviously then adds friction because I have to then create in a different way, but all of this to say, if you were trying to start as a creative, as a brand owner, a founder, whatever it is, there are paths laid out in front of you that others have walked. Paths that you can copy and paste and you know will work. But there will always be a part of you that wished they tried something different, or wished they had taken only 10% rather than 80% of the business model, so that when you win, it feels like yours. It doesn't feel like it's a borrowed win. I hope you all stick around. There is no real change in terms of it's still weekly. I'll be back. I want to show you Bakehouse Brands. I want this to be the thing I am remembered for. But I want the way I'm remembered to be way more visually appealing. Being aware of who you are and how you want to be perceived is the only way you're going to be able to show up organically. You can ask ChatGPT all the prompts in the world about how to create an effective YouTube video, an effective Instagram reel, whatever it is, and it'll give you the stock standard approach that may execute virality to the highest level, but it can never ever tell you how to be you. And I think that's where I'll end it. Thank you for the support. We'll be back next week, and I'll love some feedback on next week's video because it's going to be very different.